So there's no help in how do you get from point A to point Z. And for instance, the housing market, like that's the biggest thing right now is the matriculation from, okay, I'm getting kicked out of the house and getting evicted, what do I do? In the schools, yes, there's the McKinney-Vento, but there's only a certain amount of things that we can do with that, with title funding and all of that. So we go to different resources in the community and they give them those, hey, call this number, call that number, but what else do I have? If I get stuck with the advocacy for that, who's helping me to get, because in the moment, I'm still homeless. I still don't have a place to lay my head. I'm with my kids all over the place, in the car, those type of things. So it's the follow-up that right now is the issue when it comes to the needs that we have. And that can be from housing to food to clothing, all of that is the follow-up.
Good afternoon. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me again. Of course, everyone said everything, but I want to say that I think having the community engaged in the process of the services being rendered in that area is critical. Being a part of the Martindale, Brightwood, and now Forest-Manor area, we collectively came together, included schools, businesses, organizations, churches, everything in our community, and came up with a quality of life plan. I know other areas have that too. But that was our opportunity to get everyone together to make sure it is inclusive and equitable to the neighbors that we serve in our area. We have 10 focus areas, and so everyone kind of took their piece and are leading the community and making sure that happens. So I think having a collaborative effort on that level is critical.
You all had some great responses and talked a lot about collaboration. And specifically, Ms. Clark, you mentioned something that resonated with me. You talked about collective power, and that's going to be important. And when we think about the 9 organizations that comprise the Divine Nine, we may have our biases, right? I may think that blue and white is better than my counterparts next door who are recruiting for their organization. But collectively together, even though we have different ways of saying things, when you really think about it, the meat of what we're saying is essentially the same, and all of us are about service. So with that being stated, how can Black Greek letter organizations such as Phi Beta Sigma and Zeta Phi Beta work collaboratively for you all to mobilize resources and to foster unity within our communities, specifically, our Black communities?
So I'm going to say, as a non-Greek person, the first thing I would say is that whenever it comes to entertainment, fun, all of that, the Divine Nine can come together quickly, often, and with numbers. Whenever it truly comes to service, it is so hard to get that collective effort together. And I say that not to criticize, I say that because it's a reality. I mean, everybody is overbooked, everybody's overscheduled, everybody is busy, and engagement is probably the most difficult part of what we do. Like, we're extremely appreciative, but we're also in a position where we want the kids that we work with to know who you all are. We want them to know that long before they get to college, in hopes that we're driving them to college, right? We want them growing up in that. And the kids who are growing up in that tend to be your siblings, your kids, your nieces, your nephews, blah, blah, blah. But the kids that I work with and the kids at his school have no concept of who you are and what you do, right? It's easier for us as a community organization to do programming and things where we can bring you all together collectively, and they can feel that sense of family. They easily attach to anything and everything that you all do and that you produce. But I think it's difficult because it's hard to get engagement just among the organizations, let alone engagement, like she's saying, of families and of parents who are extremely busy or who are just trying to make it or who are just trying to get by. I think the more that we can program together to work with the community, the better it's going to be for the community. That was good.
again, piggybacking is a thing. She mentioned programming together. If we think about the Divine Nine, we already have outlets available where we can actually program together. Like Brother Jenkins said, we have a lot of the same programming, a lot of the same things, different language, and that's okay. But we can come together collectively and start initiatives and do it our own way. We know, especially in under-resourced communities, that reading is a problem. We know the group over there, as well as Phi Beta Sigma, we have youth auxiliary groups. We can start reading initiatives and all plan to do reading initiatives at the same time. That way we span the whole city. We don't have to come together necessarily to do it, but we can plan and do it together. And I think that's the piece that's missing. We're all trying to reach the same goal. We have to come together and plan so that we can do it as a community.
So I wanted to just give everybody a African proverb that I go through every single day, and it just helps me to realize the work that we do, because education can be hard, very hard. But just keep the main thing, and this proverb states, it says, "The child who is not embraced by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth." And when we think about that, it hits a little bit different, and it circumvents the big meaning. And when I say that, I'm thinking about our students, and we're talking about what can we do to help them succeed, what can we do to collaborate. There are students in my school that never, ever seen the other side of Indianapolis. They've never been anywhere else. So that is the first start right here in the city. What do we offer that can help them? What can we offer to open their minds to different opportunities? And you look around this room right now, so many educated people in here, oh my goodness. And we all have our own expertise in different areas, but do our students know that? Do our communities know what we do and how we do and the impact that we make? So bringing that, bring all that to the table and sharing our resources so that we can make an impact together, I think is a good start.
I agree with everything that everyone said. I think also, I'm gonna pick on the political piece just a little bit, not too much.
It's okay.
Having a collective power, like is critical for all of us. And it not only takes collaboration of individuals to push agendas that are beneficial to our people forward, but it also takes bravery and courage to stand up, because there's a system designed to keep us where we are. And if we don't realize that and really truly put a great effort to get together, we don't have to all like each other, but we do have to have the same North Star to get our folks mobilized. So I don't know what you got.
I'm over here like, amen, in Jesus' name. So, audience, we want to now turn it on you. We are, just as Tiffany said, we're all educated men and women that are in this room, different levels. Some hold degrees that are beyond bachelor's. Some of us are still in work of our degrees. But what do you feel that's been said thus far, even in this question? How can we, whether it's an individual effort, whether it's an effort in partnering with other organizations, what can we do? So we invite someone to come to the microphone and give feedback on what can we do to add to, because we have entities that are sitting on our panel that are professional entities that have gone and worked, they do work in the community, they're community partners. These are educators that are working with students every day, but what are we doing? Do we have a, okay, come on, honey, right? There's a microphone in the middle. Thank you.
Hi. I'm actually honored to be here. My name is Erica. Collective Power, it hit different. Net Power, it hit totally different. The answer to the question is show up. And that's for everybody. We can plan all day long. You said there's educated people who can get at it. And we have ideas that can literally take over what's already in place to keep us so-called in our place. I wasn't born in that area, God knew why, because it wouldn't happen, but I'm not gonna have it in this area either. It's gonna take for us not only to plan, yes, we're planning, but we need to now show up. We need to now voice it. You said courage. Yeah, it takes courage. We have a lot of mouths for everything else. We're gonna need our mouths. We're gonna need our voice. There is a lot of people being silenced already. We're gonna have to start talking, and we're gonna have to start putting in action, and we're gonna have to start showing up. So that is my.
No, thank you, honey. Good job. Let's give her a hand. We have to show up, and just to, again, piggyback. That's a word, right? We have to, I want to piggyback off of what some comments have stated. So I work at a government agency. I'm not going to say what that is because I'm pretty sure that what I were to say would probably get me in trouble. But we, in the department that I work in, we deal with official documents that you can request, okay? So there is literally legislation that's going before the State House to add information to our government documents. And the information that they're proposing has nothing to do with you to get an ID. Nothing to do with you to be able to get, because you know, anytime that you request documents, it's typically for identification, right? So why does gender preference, why is that necessary? If somebody has made a change, even though that's not my purpose or that's not my plight, why is that necessary to be known on permanent documentation and to keep us down? This sister just said to basically put people in a space to where they can make a judgment to get an ID. You know, that's scary, y'all. So we do have to make statements, and we have to show up, and we have to advocate. So thank you for saying that. Thank y'all for bringing us questions. Me and Angela was like, hey! So we are going to take a question from the audience, and this one says, what advice, and this is to the panelists, what advice would you give to organizations that's looking to expand their service efforts into communities while respecting the needs and the voices of local residents?
Mm-hmm.
I would say, you know, the first thing I learned working in the community that we're in is to do things with them and not for them, right? So it's important to, you know, as you get engaged with the community, whether that's the community you live in, work in, or a new community for you, understand who they are and where they are and meet them where they're at. I spent 35 years in higher education, 4 different universities, and so it was a big transition, a big learning curve for me to go into a community that essentially was decimated. No food, not even the lowest level. There's not even a McDonald's in the near Northwest. Like, that's the lowest level of food, we don't have it. No pizza joint, no nothing, right? They're 60% vacancy in the neighborhood where we are working and where the Sigmas help us rebuild a building. 60%, there's just empty lots and boarded up houses. So trying to understand that and trying to navigate that, I couldn't go in and take all of these ideas I had from higher education, where we were training people to get their degree, to go back and work in communities, and they don't have any idea what a community really is like, and what it's, you know, where those folks are at. You know, we have an emerging Latin population. I don't care how blackety black I want to be, they're there. They're a part of the community. We need to work with and deal with the language barrier and serve and service them as well. So anytime you as an organization want to emerge and help and be a part of, the very first thing you have to do is get on the ground and understand the community that you're working in, because you're so much better at what you do and what you can give when you understand who you're working with. I think that piece is critical. And then the other thing is, people are afraid to go into spaces they just have not been in. And you can't be, you know, every day. I mean, there's not a single, the guy who knocks on our door every single day, who has been walking around on the streets homeless for 5-6 years, because he chooses to be. But every day I have to remind myself, I am no better than he is, right? I have to find a way to connect with him. I have to find a way to help him, even though he doesn't want to do better, right? Because I do it because I know that those kids are looking and seeing that, and that's not the look that we want them to see. So I just say, don't be afraid to jump in, and don't be afraid to learn, right? Because we all need to be lifelong learners, and that helps our collective growth and development to help our community do better.
I'm going to speak selfishly here as an educator. Go into a local school in an underserved, underprivileged area and just ask what needs they have. I know, like she said, it can be scary at times, right? You're going into elementary school, high school, whatever the case may be, and you don't know what type of students they have. Start easy. Just read to kids. You can literally do anything. We had a field trip last week, and we couldn't get 6 volunteers to go help the kids. So when I say schools have needs, I mean, it could be any number of things. Go and find out. There's definitely opportunity for you to serve.
I agree. That was my one, I got 2 points. So the first one is, as they said, get in the community and ask. You know, don't make assumptions on what you think they may need. Ask. I say that in regards to education too. Don't make an assumption about what a student wants to see as a program, and then we just go in willy-nilly because we're grown. They have something totally different that they want. So get in the community and ask. And my second one comes from this popular saying on social media right now is, we listen, we don't judge. We listen and we don't judge. Because a lot of times people in our community, and we're the same, think about when we have issues and we have struggles and we have things that we need help with, it is so hard for us to just say, I need you. Or even speak and say, I need help on this, because there's so many times we get put down. Okay, why you don't have a job? McDonald's? Okay, that's not what I'm asking for. Like, you judge me already, and now I don't want to talk to you. Actually, I don't want to talk to nobody else. I'm just going to internalize and try to figure this out on my own, which is going to slip me into eternity of struggle. And I'd rather struggle than be judged by somebody else. So, get in the community, ask what they need, listen, and don't judge.
I would add on, there are several sources for data. Data Geek, and I look at the data that's already been done by, say, the Savvy for the area, and then being a part of the neighborhood association meetings are important. We have, in our area, we've got 4 or 5 neighborhood associations, and this is kind of a call to action too. We need more younger people involved. Because we have a lot of seniors that, quite frankly, come from a different generation, and they see and do things differently. And in order to stay relevant or be able to relate to our young people, we need some younger folks to get involved in that way, I feel. And then, like I said, we just moved to the Forest Manor community 2 months ago. It's a little cold right now, but once it gets springtime, our goal is to go out and go door to door. Not afraid to go door to door. I can't be afraid of people that I want to help, no matter how rough it looks. Because I know I have a few staff that they live in the burbs and they're just like, there's some curls and we're out there and talk to people and see what they need. So it really always, quite frankly, boils down to the community engagement, just being able to talk to people, going to school, even stopping in some of the businesses that are in the area and find out what their concerns are.
Excellent responses, I love it. And Ms. Clark, you over here cooking. I mean, y'all all cooking. But you over here cooking. You said something that resonated with me again as it relates to not being afraid of change and just getting out there. And, you know, when the community sees that you are willing to be bold and get out there and learn about their specific needs, you'll gain their trust, and it's a mutually beneficial relationship all the way around. Listen and don't judge, Sword Evans, love it. All you guys gave some great responses. We now have another question from the audience.
Yes, I actually have two.
Okay.
My name is Tamara, and I'm very big on outreach. During COVID, I established an outreach program at my church that's 135 years old and never had one. I implemented a food pantry for food insecurity during that time. My first question is, because it's in Pike Township, how do I get to places like your organizations? Do you have a space where I could open up a food pantry and just expand outside of Pike Township? And how would I know, my second question, that you need volunteers? Where is that located? How can I come into your school and do the reading programs or the math programs, or have some of my friends who are interested in mentoring to children give back to your areas?
If you want to come to my school, you're welcome. There will be background check because I love you all and I trust you. I love my kids. I gotta do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but this is just as simple as you can speak about the academic decline that we're seeing, and a lot of that has to do with it's not as important at home, so we don't have that collaboration. So that, you know, when we were all getting our education, mom and daddy or whoever you with, did you do homework? Let me check it, let me see what's going on, I can help you. Now it's, I gotta go to work, do what you gotta do. So we need that extra support in the schools because quite frankly, the parents are asking us to do it all, and we cannot. So if we have the extra help, if we have the bodies that can come in and be the extra support, even just mentorship, to speak, because again, they're not getting that at home. They're not even getting the basic trainings of how do you do hygiene. They don't know that. How do you do clean your room? How do you just pick up after yourself? Those things are like far gone now, and unfortunately, disrespect is into play. However, that can also help. If they see who they can become, they can be who they can become. So we have to get into those spaces so that we can show them, you know, that you can be the Black engineer, you can be the CEO, you can be all of these things, make your own business, entrepreneurs, all those things. So come in with the, and I always say have a double play, come in with the regard of like, I'm gonna read you, I'm gonna mentor, but also give yourself to them. Give them the opportunity, and some of our teachers and staff can be inspired by it too, because, you know, they have aspirations outside of just being a teacher, or just being this, just being that. They have businesses they want to open as well. So we have to be able to put ourselves out there. If there's a school you want to go to, there's a business you want to go to, just roll up. Say, hey, this is what I have to offer. Can I be of service?
I'll jump in. We have on our website volunteer application that you can fill out, but we do a food pantry once a month. For our neighborhood, and then we also are going to be installing a food box that's 24/7 accessible outside of our center. But we also have after-school programming for the kiddos, summer camp for the kids, and we always have reading as our main academic. We do math and stuff too, but we always look for volunteers, especially in the summer for our field trips with the kids. But all of our volunteer opportunities are on our website. Also, I would say there's some other websites that I think United Way has one for volunteering, but I think the needs are really in the schools that are in the communities. There's something weird, and I hope I'm not going to offend anyone. IPS is getting ready to get with their schools because of our fabulous new government. I don't know how that's going. I'm just gonna leave it there, but definitely, we've had students come in, young people from IU here, I still call it IU, and they come in and do that, as part of their service project, so, definitely, I think there's a lot of opportunities for people to get involved with mentoring and tutoring, things like that.
And I would say too, it's easier for you, it's easier for us to try to find, organizations than it is for them to find us sometimes. Like, Aspire House is pretty well known in certain circles, right? But then there's a whole lot of people who've never heard of us. We're not on the east side of town, we're west, that type of thing. I think one thing that I see is like being good, like we provide wraparound services for the schools in our community, right? So we know at the end of the day, at 2:15, the teachers at Liberty Grove School are tired. And they don't want to stay after school to do literacy program or so on and so forth, right? So we try to provide those wraparound services. And then additionally, we try to do school outside of school without the kids knowing they're at school, right? So the summers, breaks, our kids in our community, they're not going to Florida on spring break. That is not happening, right? They stay at home and their parents are still going to work every day and they try to figure out what to do. So they're walking up and down the street and we're like, okay, we got to provide something during this time. I think as organizations, like the Zetas, sometimes it seems overwhelming because you all are busy. You have a life, you got kids, you got everything else going on. But we try to do things very simply, like, can you commit 6 Zetas to Aspire House for 6 months, right? And we do a literacy program and, everybody, you all work too, right? But can you take off an hour once a week, which is once a month? If there are 4 of you, and you come the first Monday of the month, someone else in your organization, the second, the third, the fourth, we do that for 6 months. One, the kids know you. We have to have consistency with the kids that we serve with. You can't mentor kids that you don't know, and you don't know them if you're not around them, right? So you have to get that, you have to build that up, right? But the reality is, people see it as a big thing, so I don't have that much time to commit, right? If you commit once a month, 1 hour out of your time, take your lunch at the end of the day, that's 2 hours, right? So you leave at 3 o'clock and you're at the school by 3:30, you're there at 3:30 to 5 o'clock. 1 time a month. But you collectively are talking to your sisters, right? And you all are working that program together, so you're consistently doing the same thing for 6 months. You have only done that 6 times. And I think sometimes people do not break it down enough for people to understand, I can make that commitment, I do have that capacity. I could do that, I could probably do 10 hours in that time, but keep it specific and then be consistent with what you're doing, right? Because everybody wants to respect, you want your time respected and vice versa. But in order to get connected with these families and get connected with school, you have to be consistent. The one-off, come volunteer and everybody shows up and then boom, you're gone and we don't see you again for a year. That doesn't actually push the initiatives that we need moving forward. We have to get to the point where we're doing some things on a consistent basis and they are seeing you. And I will tell you, for those of you who do things with groups or with your church or whatever, you gain far more out of it than they do, right? So it builds you up in a whole different way when you start to get to know kids on a little bit deeper level.
And again, I would just add, showing up is actually a superpower, right? Just like she said, because there are great needs. When we talk about schools, it's so easy to say, well, why don't you guys have literacy nights and you only have 1 a semester? Well, our teachers are tired. And then add on to that some of our teachers aren't from that community. My school is 30th in Arlington. Some of our teachers are scared to do home visits and things like that because they're not a part of that community. So any volunteers, any help, and we often think it's going to be something grand and big, but again, it can be as simple as reading to a student. It can be as simple as watching some students as they get ready for an after-school program. Anything is possible, but like our store said, please just ask. Because there are needs, and we will definitely tell you what they are when you come in.
Thank you for the responses. Here's another audience question, and it made me think about my time in school. Career days, are those still a thing? Would someone care to kind of elaborate on how career day looks at your school?
So actually, unfortunately, it's now mandated that
Okay.
we have, at the high school level, that we have college and career day. How it looks, and I like to shake stuff up, but right now, with all the handcuffs we have on it, but it's mostly community comes in, have tables, give information, all that stuff, but when we think about it, again, go back and what you do, when you go to different events, when you have your bag and you put stuff in it, and you look at it again. So how can we make the biggest impact when you talk about community and career fairs? And so what I wanted to do at our school, and we're working on that now for the next couple of months, is to break it down. So have like a career fair within a career fair and an ongoing one. So we want to have one that's talking about sports, because all of our students right now are like, oh, I can be an agent, or I can be an athlete, or I can do this. But bring people in and say, okay, what's the backup plan? So have that dedicated to sports. And the next one, let's go STEM, or STEAM, and all the different acronyms we have for it. So we can have engineers and stuff come in, and that be the focus there. And so on and so forth. And I think that will make the biggest impact on the decision that they have to make. In our school particularly, our scholars started in 9th grade, and actually earlier going to college. So they're doing both. So why not, if we're giving them the college opportunity, why not tell them what they could be and give them the information behind it? Because some of them don't even know, okay, you want to be a doctor, there's extra years added on to that. They just think, oh, this pop, I'm a doctor. Honestly, I promise you. Or you just say, oh, I want to do this, and then it just happens. No, there's processes to it, but they don't have anybody to sit down and tell you the processes, and tell you what to look out for, the ups, downs, the ebbs, the flows, how to navigate some of the classes that you have to take that we all know. Because business law, hated it. I did whatever I could to see got degrees. So I had to do what I had to do. But if I had somebody to help me navigate through that, the GPA would have been better, the opportunity would have been better. I could have had internships and all those things. And those are some things that the community could offer, just coming in again to a career fair. Hey, this is what we have, this is how you get there. I do have opportunities for internships. Again, that gets the students outside of their community and showing them something outside of just 38 from Arlington on 42nd and Sherman. What is there around it? Everything is getting shut down. So again, asking what we need, because we do have to have the career fairs, and I would love to have everybody to help out with that. And again, letting our students who look like us know that we can be more than what their environment says that they can be.
I'll chime in. We do a career day with our kiddos in the summertime, especially we start them young. Like our summer camp age is 7 to 12. And so we bring in all types of professionals, but they have their own day. It's once a week, every Thursday. So we've had attorneys come in, doctors, police, firefighters, plumbers, carpenters, entrepreneurs, business owners, just a bunch of different things, and then I'll tell them my story. And these kids need hope. They are bombarded with so many, you guys can hear me, right? So many negative pieces in their world with the social media and peers, and we can be here all day talking about that, I feel. But really, and you mentioned internships. I would also say job shadow opportunities. Adopt a kid for the day, let them come see what you do at work. What your typical day looks like, if that's something you could do. And I think giving the kids an opportunity, the exposure to different things, because, we talk about what you want to be, and everybody wants to be in the NFL or the NBA, and I'm like, all right, like you just said. So I've actually had an NFL player come in and tell his story about how he was injured, and then it was like, thank goodness I finished college, so I had something to fall back on, and he's a business owner now, but giving him that reality check of, you may not be Saquon Barkley, you know, you might injure yourself and have to have something else, so, we definitely believe in that, and the last thing I'll say is, I don't know if you guys, we probably are familiar with the Center for Leadership Development. They do a lot of that college prep work, and I know that they are wanting to be in some schools. Just had a meeting with them, so I would love to make sure I correct you guys if you're not already.
On the elementary level, you come into our school, you're not only going to hear NFL and NBA, the newest thing is YouTube.
Yes.
They want to be a streaming star. But keep in mind, some of my students, again, 30th in Arlington, some of my students haven't even made it to downtown. They only know their neighborhood. It's about giving them a global perspective, allowing them to see people who look like them, who are athletes, who are doctors, who are whatever the capacity is, because they don't see that. All they know is their neighborhood. All they know is the streets that they're in every day. Without that global perspective, without opening their eyes to a much bigger world, they have no idea what's available. So job fairs and things like that are crucial, especially on the elementary level.
I just need to say something about this whole sports thing. Since I spent my whole professional career in college sports, that will never change. It's never going to change. That what they see, what we used to see on TV, what they now see streaming, is that they're always going to wish for that, right? They're always going to hope for it, want for it. And what I do want to say is, and I'll use my own, I was a college coach for years. A pivot for that is, see, if any of them called me about that, then I bring in a whole group, a whole collective of people who work in sports, and then they show them all the careers that are in sports just right here in Indianapolis. Indianapolis, it says it's the sporting capital of the world. People are making millions of dollars off of sports right now. They always have, there is a multi-billion-dollar industry, which around the country, everybody wants it to be right here in Indy, because Indy is a part of that. But we have kids right here who have no idea, right, that on this campus, they're building in sports analytics, and it's all, excuse me, I know this is being recorded, it's all these little white boys making all the money and all the prepared, they're growing the industry in these other ways. Everybody in media, every time there's anything that happens, there are hundreds of people who get paid a lot of money to work behind the scenes and do all of that. That's the part that we need to. I use sports but there are other areas too that they all think, that, streaming, being online, I want to be an influencer, I want to be this, that, and the other. They don't realize all the other behind the scenes jobs that are available as a part of that. So all of the collective, again, that you all have in knowing what you do, that's where we need to come together and really push this back out so we can get control of our kids and really help them become educated. This was happening long before I was born, and then we all dropped the ball in the middle. I won't say what generation dropped it, but now we've got groups and groups of kids who they don't have any hope because they don't have any knowledge of what their opportunities are to be, and that's where I feel like we need to step in and think about that.
So good. I just want to look the word piggyback, but one of the things that was said earlier is that we need to make a difference, right? So I also work in social services. Now that the Lord has exposed me to social services, I'll never let it go because I feel that I individually can make a difference. And one of the things that I take pride in, which is only like one or two people, but some of the young people that I work with told me, like, once their services were over, they were like, Miss Sancho, I want to be a social worker like you. Girl, you want some money? Do some money. but seriously, it's money to be made. But at the end of the day, it's because I made a difference in their lives. And because I made a difference in their lives, They wanted to do what I do. So you're right. They gotta see, and what they see is what they see on TV and on this little box that we keep with us. You know what I'm saying? That's ever before them. But when we make personal connections with our young people, that makes a difference. And then they'll want to be like you. So how are you walking? How are you holding up how your mother raised you, how your organization asked you to be a representative? Are you truly going out and making sure that you're making a difference? Because the way that people see you walk is how they glean to that. And if you want them to be more like you, then we need to start treating our young people and others like we want them to be. That was just an amen moment for me, and that was not on the paper. But I do want to go to I'm going to kind of combine two of these because I want to make sure I address both of the questions. Someone said, what does collaboration look like? And I want to pull from somebody in the audience this time. What does collaboration look like? Do we need to have quarterly meetings? Do we need to come and assess community resources and actually come to plans to execute, to say, okay, we coming together, next time we're going to meet is in March. Everybody bring an idea, let's come together. How do we really, what are some ways that we can put forth? And we've discussed some of those, but this one was so good. Me and Antoine was like, man, this is good. We got a question that says, we were talking a lot about the resources for children, but what about the parents? Wasn't that good? We was up there going, yeah, that is good. What about the parents? Because guess what? The kids, we got to work and we got to do this. But as leaders, we are leading the effort. And you all, whether we have them naturally or not, we're the village. We're the village. So what are the resources? So I'm going to address to the audience community and the one online. What can we do to make sure that we're present? What can we do? And then our panelists, we want you to answer the question of what is available for parents. And that can come from our educators and our community resource book. But audience, come on, honey. Thank you.
First of all, I'm so glad that that question was asked because I was trying to figure out how I was going to get up here. I didn't sit down. So I work in the nonprofit space, and as a director in a nonprofit organization, we have a lot of conversations with principals, with school leaders around the city, and just local businesses. And so ways that we kind of connect, we do that on a quarterly basis, so once every 3 months, and we just kind of discuss what services we're offering, what issues we're having in our spaces, or challenges that we're having, and how we can all work together to pull those things together to help each other out. So, for example, a local library may have a mobile book truck that comes to our schools, and we take our kids to read, or we have a local bank that comes to volunteer and offer tutoring services, or just any different kind of resource that others have to offer to us. We make sure that we connect with everyone so that it's not just all on one organization to do it. We're all pulling things together. If one of us has something, you have something, let's work together and we can all have those services working together. But also for our parents, again, I'm in the nonprofit space. I think about my babies, but I also think about our parents because, they are the ones that keep our business running, keep our organization running. So a lot of our parents might have financial literacy needs, and they need services for them to file their W-2s or file their taxes, anything financial related. They need to kind of have those classes or sessions both in person or online so that they can connect with those local businesses to help them figure things out along the way so that they don't get into a space where they're homeless or just having those different needs. Also with food and the food banks and the food pantries, we offer those opportunities for them, but we also have transportation of our own that we can go to their houses or do a drop off, or they come to our space on a Saturday where there's not a lot of people looking at them, so they feel comfortable with getting the food or receiving food from us. And we have anonymous platforms where we can talk to them, connect with them to figure out what are some services that we can provide within our space. So then it's like, okay, not necessarily this specific family may need it, but as a whole, all the families that we're serving, we can kind of work to provide those things and do it fast, not taking the next year to do it or taking 5 months to plan it. It's something that we're gonna work on now because the need is now. Like you mentioned, like parents need those things now. It's like, okay, so what are we gonna do next? No, we need to work on those things now. So that was my tidbit about that. Thank you.
Panelists want to chime in with that question in terms of parental resources. It is important. I remember seeing a story on CNN that talked about parents and how contemporary parents are actually stressed. Like, we didn't really need a study to show that, because I can say that I'm a parent. But there is a lot going on, I think, with the contemporary parent that parents from prior generations didn't necessarily have to contend with. I mean, social media is that's a huge thing right now, of course, and parents of prior generations didn't have to deal with, the nuances of what social media involves. I mean, social media can be a positive, but there's a lot of negative aspects to it as well, especially for, kids that are exposed to it constantly. And, it can be a huge deal. So from the panelist perspective, are there any parental resources that you guys can offer to the audience?
Absolutely. When we talk about schools and we talk about community support, I mentioned the field trip, and we couldn't get 6 volunteers. Well, when we break that down and we think about some of our parents can't volunteer for whatever reason, they may have a case or something against them. So one thing my school provides is law services. So parents can come in and get expungements and things like that. When you're talking about a community, you have to provide for the needs of that community. We have literacy opportunities for parents, because we know some of our parents didn't go to school, didn't have a full education, so they need that. Currently, we have a parent achievement project, and we talk about how you can come along and support. Literally, this program they're not actually the tutors, they're just monitoring our students while tutoring is going on. So the tutoring takes place online. So that's another program that we provide, and we try to bring parents into the schools. There's programs for fathers out there, whether they're learning to be a father or they need extra support in resume building and getting a job, anything like that. So there's programs that provide for those needs as well. And then we also have to have language services as well, because we do have multiple communities moving into Indianapolis, and Haitian Creole is one of the highest growing, and you have to learn about that community. You can't just service them if you don't know anything about them. So there's a multitude of programs and things like that. Definitely partner with your local schools so you can see some of those programs, and definitely reach out to me or any of the panelists if you want more information.
Yeah, I'll speak on what we do at our school as well, and I've had to be more intentional about planning our parent meetings, and with regard to what the families are dealing with. So you have childcare issues, transportation issues, and even food issues. When we're talking about, I'm gonna have a meeting at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, what does that look like? You have, say you have a family of 5 kids, and you wanna come to the school you have a bank here for a financial literacy night. I really wanna get there. I have 5 kids, I know I'm not gonna sit still. So how we gonna do that? 1, I'm gonna partner with somebody in the community to bring in food for the family. 2, I'm gonna ask the students with some volunteers, some adult volunteers, to have a room in the building that's a daycare room. Now the parents have the opportunity to be here and focus on what it is they need to focus on. Big one too, partner with a food bank or a food pantry or a company, so when they get there, so parents are looking for, okay, what can I get? And what can I take away? So if you advertise because they gotta know what's going on. When you come, you're gonna get a meal, you're gonna get child care, financial literacy, and when you leave, you're gonna get a food pantry box. Yeah, I'm coming. But, and I don't say this to say as a negative thing, but we have resources in the room. A lot of our companies are dropping off of doing that because they don't want it, the consistency is not there. But I can't have events where I'm helping our parents grow, which in turn will help our students grow, if we don't have the support. If a company says, hey, it's too hard for me to bring in 50 McChickens or whatever, so I'm just gonna tell you no, now I'm stuck, because now the school doesn't have that many resources, we got so many handcuffs on our money, we can't do it anyway. So now we've just turned our back on them in that aspect, because now they have to still go back home late to feed their kids. So these are the types of supports that we need, and I'm gonna say the first thing is consistency is key, but in our community, we need to be able to trust whoever's coming in front of us. So if we're just coming, our families know if it's for monetary gain, if you're doing it for a different nefarious reason, come in with an open heart and say, this is what we're doing, we don't really want the accolades, I'm gonna put you on there, I always hype people up, but just know that there's a need, and if we want our families to be better, want our parents to grow, we have to cater to our parents in order to get them the information they need.
I'll jump in and say, I think, thank you for bringing that up about the parents, because I always say it doesn't matter what we do with kids all day, you send them back home and they can be not supported. So for us, for Brightwood Forest Manor, we have parenting classes that we do that we don't call parenting classes because people, terms mean a lot out here. And the financial literacy somebody brought up is imperative. We offer employment and job training services, so if you didn't go to college or school and you want to get a trade or something like that, we offer those opportunities. We also, I mentioned the food pantry earlier, but we do a man cave and a ladies night that are for parents to come. We have space in our building to have a little mini daycare on the side, usually reserved for the staff that likes playing with kids. That's not mine. Not my ministry. I know my strengths and weaknesses. I have no kids, so for that reason. But and then the last thing I'll talk about is our trauma and healing circles. If you, there's a lot of trauma, and myself included. And so we offer that as a space, a safe space for parents to kind of be able to come and sort through some of their things so that they can be better, stronger for the kids later. And we do it with kids too, especially in summer camp. We have our circles where we separate the girls and the boys sometimes and have different conversations. Hygiene is one of those conversations. And we have deodorant, toothbrush, toothpaste. We send them with a little kit, not to embarrass or degrade, but to give them a little, this is my kit. And so we try to fill the gaps where we see them, right? And so I think, thank you for bringing that up about the parents, because the parents need love too. And it's just a matter of making sure you have the right recipe. I love yours, but the dinner, here, take a box home with you. It does help. And then you see them come back when they really, really need something else.
So we are kind of nearing the end, not the end of the whole program. The panelists are going to stick around to answer additional questions. So I'm loving the enthusiasm from the audience. I know there are two individuals standing up to ask questions. They're going to stick around, so hold on to those questions. I do want to ask one final question that I feel like is a great question from the chat. And the question is in regards to legacy. What legacy do you all hope to leave behind? And I thought I want to start out by answering that question, even though I'm not an official panelist. I'm a firm believer in mentorship, right? So that's, in a nutshell, the legacy that I will hope to leave behind. I have 2 sons, so they have the privilege of getting in-house mentorship. But I do and really enjoy and have a passion for mentoring individuals from all ages. I see a little boy right here, right? So I'm thinking about my sons when they were his age. And I want this young man to know, even though he's not paying me attention right now, I want this young brother to know that he has the capacity to be whatever he chooses to be. He can be a world-renowned neurosurgeon, cardiovascular surgeon if he wants to. He can be the next President Barack Obama and have a Michelle Obama as his first lady. He has that capacity. So I'm all about pouring into my mentors, my mentees, but also letting them know what they need to know. And sometimes it may be a little bit of tough love, but that's what it is. Even though I'm a mentor, I'm also a mentee as well. And kind of getting back to the point that was made earlier, I'm never old enough to learn something new. So I have older mentors that I look up to, and I get into a line in regards to something that needs some, adult, well, I'm not adult, but older male mentorship. I will go to those individuals and seek their guidance. So mentorship for me is absolutely vital and absolutely huge. And that's something that I would urge each brother to do and each sister to do as well. So I love the concept of the man cave and what was it, the she shed? She said?
I tried to cover that, but it's
I couldn't remember. I remember the man cave part. So.
take the microphone. But no, great point, Brother Jenkins, to say how we all have our own part of accountability, right? And we're hoping, like y'all, we can stay here, but we do have other festivities this afternoon for those that are joining us. And we're so appreciative. We do have light refreshments. That is cake and water. And our lovely undergraduates, wave our undergraduates. These ladies are hosts.